And welcome back, everyone, to part 11 of What If Gaara Was Raised in the Leaf. Last time, we dealt mostly with the Sasuke side of the story. Now, there was debate on whether or not, particularly with one viewer, about when Sasuke should be taken, when not. I went with the story I went with. And it's one of those agree to disagree kind of things. I agree with some points they made, or that this person, or you made, if you're watching this, but I don't agree with every part of it. But that's just here or there. It's just the way I interpret the story, and so forth and so on. I know I try to keep it to the best of my ability of what changes would come from the single change. But when that single change comes pretty early in the story, kind of everything's up for grabs. Anyway, and plus, I am telling a story, so I am allowed to do what I want with the story, even if I am trying to keep within a certain structure. But anyway, Sasuke did, with difficulty, recover and take the Four Tails. Someone did mention that, and I did look it up during the What If, mentioned that Roshi is not a perfect Jinchuriki. He can turn into the full Tail Beast form, but because he's not a perfect Jinchuriki, that would actually prevent him or the Four Tails from negating a Genjutsu. So, Genjutsu from Sasuke actually would be the apt way to bring the Four Tails in this case. So I would imagine Obito would basically tell him that we want to spend your time recovering, getting ready. After the Four Tails is sealed away, then and only then will I give you Itachi. And so it's like, fine, but you better keep your word. Because Sasuke is not in good shape, right? He did just go toe-to-toe with a tail beast, a mid-chakra level tail beast. 4 is on the lower side of the half scale because it's an odd number, but still. But he also agrees he can't fight Itachi like this anyway. So after the Four Tails is absorbed, Obito lets Itachi know. It's like, by the way, Itachi, your brother mentioned he'd like to have a word with you. My brother? Oh, did I not mention? He's been staying with me for a while, but don't worry, I'll send him back to you with a message. It's like, you, Madara. And he doesn't know he's Obito. Madara, you. And it's like, bye. Now, would he mock Itachi here? Yeah, because he knows probably Itachi's not making it out of this alive. Itachi, if he did not fight whatsoever, probably would have been able to live a little longer. He most likely would have gone from a few weeks to maybe a month, maybe 2 months. But that's assuming he's just doing it like, okay, I'm on hospice, not going to do anything kind of style. That's not what was going to happen. Itachi was pushing his ass as hard as he could in that fight. So the little time he had left was shortened to nothing. And that's Obito's game plan, because Itachi's the one guy he legitimately right now is afraid of. Like, if Itachi knows everything about me, I'm cooked. So he's got to get Itachi out of the picture, which, again, is almost certainly why he did not take Sasuke when he did. Even if Itachi was sick, he still didn't take Sasuke until after Itachi was dead. So again, the whole idea that he takes him while Itachi is still around and in the organization, I don't like. I did it here, but I don't like the idea. He did not take him until after he was certain, okay, Itachi's dead. Good, great, yoink. Anyway, so after the fact, by the way, during this time, Jiraiya would still be killed by Nagato in pain. That's a given. But during this time, he basically kind of teleports him near the area where it's going to be. I can't join, but don't worry, I'll have Zetsu keep an eye on you. And so he goes in, finds Itachi. There's Sasuke. There's Sasuke. There you are, little brother. Itachi, I done what you said. I lived my entire life with hatred of you. George Itachi's like, you've said this before. You said this before, Sasuke. I think we both know this is different. It's different, Itachi. And he does like the Chidori Senbon first off. They go toe-to-toe for a bit until it's like, got you! And then just yoink, and boom, still here. Sasuke, there's things I need to know. Why would you join with that man? It's like, you mean Madara? At least that's what he called himself anyway. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you kill everyone? Who knows why we do what we do? Why did you kill my mom and dad? Why did you kill our whole clan? For your stupid obsession with power. And Itachi, admittedly, he can't really. He wants to tell Sasuke he does, but at the same time, it's not like he'd believe him anyway at this point. He had to hear from a third party. Or, well, yeah, I guess that counts as third party. He had to hear from a separate party. in order for him to kind of buy the truth of what was going on there. So they would have their fight. Again, it would go about the same. Sasuke's had enough training, let's call it, enough time to regroup, get his strength back, all that, to be able to, I think, get finally and successfully get the carrying off. He does probably use his curse mark to like amp his chakra as much as he can. Then obviously Susanoo comes out. Honestly, most of this goes about the same, with the exception that Orochimaru doesn't come out of Sasuke, because Sasuke did not absorb Orochimaru in this. That's the reason Orochimaru like came out of the curse mark. Apart from the fact there's a bit of essence in him, when he tried to absorb Sasuke, it was the other way around. He absorbed Orochimaru. So Orochimaru was just stuck in there the whole time. And so that's why Orochimaru was able to be like, I'm back, bitches. Yoink. It's like, no, I'm gone, bitches. I'm sounding more like Mayuri. I'm gone. No, Itachi. So without that here, really, he's just, using curse mark to the best of his ability. So does that mean Sasuke Itachi lasts a little longer without having to go that far all out? Maybe a couple extra minutes. I mean, he's pretty much done. Sasuke activating his curse mark is really just a last-ditch effort to try to put him down, and again, he fails miserably. Is that mine? Those eyes are mine, Sasuke. But instead of just being like, sorry, Sasuke, it's more like, boom. He actually has a few extra moments, at least, to basically look at him and say, I wish I could have told you the truth, little brother. But I guess there's no time left for that. Forgive me, Sasuke. And then dies. And Sasuke kind of laughs like, he's dead, I finally did it! And just like, and he's kind of like, and he near collapses. And Zetsu's like, well, time to get him out of here. Let's go let Itachi, or Obito know so he can pull him out of here. And he disappears, only for someone else to show up. And it's like, oh, Sasuke, you succeeded in your goal. How does it feel, boy? And then there's Orochimaru with Kabuto. Danzo's waiting back in the hideout, but with Kabuto. And yeah, Sasuke gets taken. He can't fight back. And it's like, don't worry. And maybe Kabuto was like, just be sure you're going to be staying asleep now for a little while, Sasuke. Don't worry, Sasuke. We'll be sure you're comfortable. Now, unfortunately for Orochimaru, he's already had to take another body. So Sasuke is going to be on retainer for about another 3 years. But they also take Itachi's eyes, which, through surgical procedures, I would imagine, it's a good question. What would they do with Itachi's eyes? Because I imagine Danzo would want those eyes. And, Orochimaru's probably like, you can have them. After all, if they're of no use, and obviously Sasuke would have a Mangekyo Sharingan at this point. If they're of no use to me when I have Sasuke here. And so when Zetsu and Obito comes like, where did they go? Where is Sasuke? So he was here. It was just here. It's here. And then what the hell is it? And then like they separate briefly. They look around. All of a sudden they do see footprints. It's like, there's footprints here. Someone took him, but who would have taken him? And I'm guessing Zetsu probably has good sensory capability, at least at any rate. Because he is more of the tracker of the group, kind of. He's the spy, the scout. Now, maybe Zetsu stayed behind, like they split in half to go and let Obito know. But, I don't know. Maybe you could say, I think we have, or Obito shows up with the other Zetsu. He's like, we have a problem. And, well, the loss of Sasuke is unfortunate, but of no matter. He was an extra body in the war. He was an extra body down the road. Because really, that's all. Even if the argument that he needed as many cannons in his tank for the war as possible, sure, but I don't know. Like, the argument that was made that Obito does what he does. For the plan, but also just for shits and giggles. I honestly feel like Sasuke plays more into the shits and giggles part of the plan than anything else. Hell, he wanted to pit Sasuke against Naruto just to see who was stronger. That is not for the plan. That's for his own amusement. So, Obito, though, would still be like, so Sasuke is gone. This proves to be a little bit detrimental still. We're not without options. Nagata, I've already sent Kisame to capture the Eight Tails, and Pain will be on his way for the 1 in 9. Right, we're no worry right now. Meanwhile, again, they've now probably got Sasuke hooked up to it, keeping him in a perpetual coma, is what I would imagine they're doing. Or starting to implant suggestive jutsu, genjutsu, whatever, on him so he is going to be obedient. Because obviously, if his body, say, atrophies, that's not a good body to take for Orochimaru. So they do actually have to keep him in shape. But Itachi's eyes. Now, I would imagine that Sasuke or Orochimaru must know about the Mangekyo. And he probably knows that Sasuke almost certainly will have attained one at this point. But he's also probably aware of the, because he's studied the Uchiha for a while, probably aware that using the Mangekyo too much will cause you to go blind. So the question then becomes, does he know about the eternal Mangekyo? But because if he knows about the eternal Mangekyo, then he just implants those eyes in the Sasuke, is like, you can have these as a little bit of a reward, Danzo, for such a good, for being such a good partner in this relationship. Gives those to Danzo, who just probably implants them more into his body. He's already got, how many Sharingan did he have? I think he had like a 10 or 11. How many Sharingan does Danzo have? Danzo had 10 Sharingan. Okay, he had 10 and plus the 1. Okay, he did in fact have 11. I was right about that. But he had 10 in his arm. So that's another 2 he'd have. Except these would in fact have Mangekyo attached to them as well. Like, that's the thing. Just because you replace the eye doesn't mean the Mangekyo in the other eye is gone. So what does he do? Like, can he? That's another good question. Can he access any of like the genjutsu of the Sharingan on his arm? Can he even see with those? I mean, they're not connected. You know, it's a lot of questions that are getting raised here that I never really thought to answer about Danzo and how that all worked. My best guess is no, because he's mostly just using it for Izanagi. But I mean, if he hypothetically could, that he's far more busted than we gave him credit for. Because if he theoretically can access genjutsu from the Sharingan on his arm, just doing that alone, you just don't have to worry about looking at his eye. You have to worry about looking at his arm. And then if he can access Mangekyo jutsu from his Sharingan eyes, then he can literally just go. And even if you go blind with those eyes, it wouldn't matter. The jutsu basically still works. You're just blind. I mean, I believe that's the case. You're just losing your eyesight, but the jutsu, by all accounts, still works. It's just the problem is you're blind, so you can't see your target. If any of those eyes had a Mangekyo on them, he could literally just go Tsukeyome or Amaterasu. And just, and like, literally, he could just ignite his blade with Amaterasu or create an Amaterasu flamethrower from his hand and just keep doing it, regardless if he goes blind or not. Now, I'm guessing he can't do that because, hey, Kishimoto probably didn't think of that. Or maybe he did. But my best guess is no, he doesn't have weird form of sight on his arm because they're not connected to his brain. And he can't access jutsu because we never saw him do it. And he was really just using him just to like save his ass through using the Izanagi. Still, though, it's worth noting, and since it's not a natural eye, he can't gain an eternal himself. Like, he can't swap out Shisui's eye and then throw in Sasuke's. Which, by the way, wouldn't inherently work. We don't know for certain that doesn't work, but we did see when he took Kakashi's Sharingan, which belonged to Obito originally, Madara, he didn't suddenly gain an EMS or anything like that. It does seem like blood relations, like direct blood relations, seem to be the more effective. That's not to say I think it's impossible to gain an internal Mangekyo through someone else. I just don't think it's very common or possible to do it. Not entirely impossible, just not likely. I digress. So more than anything, maybe Danzo instead, because he's with Orochimaru, maybe he's been augmenting himself further. Maybe he adds these Mangekyo onto his arm and maybe his left arm, and maybe that left arm adding some more Hashirama cells in there, because he probably still has some on call, or adding the cells of someone else with a lot of vitality, Uzumaki perchance. We know Kabuto did it. will allow him to actually not see, but access the jutsu of this with some practice and time. Which does now put Danzo as a much more dangerous threat in this verse. Like, he's a powerful dude for his age, no doubt. But in a straight fight, Sarutobi still would have kicked his ass. That being said, like, he's still here now. He's a legitimate threat because now he can use Amaterasu without any issue. And because it's Sasuke's eyes, he's got Blaze Release, which is or was it Kurohutsuji? Which is manipulation of Amaterasu. I spent too much time on Danzo here when he's not going to be relevant in this part. He'll be relevant in the war arc, that's for certain. Anyway, so Sasuke is now captured. Obito is like, Meanwhile, Kisame would go after B. It's like, so you're the 8 tail. It's like, 1 to the 3 to the 4 to the 5. Or how do you go, B? 1, 2, 3. My name's Killer B. Rappin's my jam, or Rappin's who I am. Rappin's my jam is who I am. Yeah. And so their fight would happen, and their fight would go very similarly, although because that did take place on a lake, Kisame's already got an inherent stronger advantage. But because B's got lightning release, which we don't see him use a lot of lightning jutsu, but he does have it. I wish we would have saw more of that, like use it in conjunction with, oh my god, using it with his swords and his sword style, just channeling chakra through there, and then attacking with that sword. Oh, that would have been fun. And maybe he does do that because maybe he takes advantage of the fact that, oh, you use water, I see. Well, using, how would he put it? What rhymes with shock or jolt? Or bolt? You're strong, no doubt about that. No, I'm talking about that. But now here's a fun little zap, and just. And Kisame, unfortunately, Kisame's biggest strength is also his biggest weakness here. Well, Samahata's technically his biggest strength, but his water release against a lightning user, which, again, I'm just amazed he didn't use, especially once the chakra dome, the water dome, caught him. I'm surprised he didn't just light the thing up with electricity, although he himself would have been shocked. That was probably why. And we know Samahata doesn't absorb elemental jutsu very well, if at all. So, he is able to stave him off. Goes for eight tails. Obviously, they clash for a while. B is not in a good spot, but then Samahata leads Kisame. And unfortunately for him, because they're closer to the cloud here, A comes in and they both decapitate his ass. Now, I do still think it is a Zetsu who replaces him, and he is now hiding in Samahata, because Zetsu probably is hiding like in the earth underneath the water, and then coming up and replacing using a substitution with him. Excuse me. And then A just berates him. Just doing the clock. Ah! Now, fun fact here, A's not going to lose his arm at all. He'll still have his right arm, right? That he lost. He'll still have that. The amount of pain tolerance he had to just have Amaterasu burning his hand into nothing, all the while he's like, yeah, patch it up. Like, well, you're a beast of a human. That said, meanwhile, back in the Leaf, the word of Jiraiya's passing is taking place, and both Gaara and Naruto are shocked. Particularly Naruto, who did see him more as a grandfather figure. Gaara probably didn't see; he saw him more just as a teacher, more than anything else. But a good teacher and a friend. So they're both going through their mourning phases. Gaara, Ino comforts Gaara for what it's worth, and at this point they are probably dating. Naruto, though, is on his own, just trying to make sense of it all, cope, and then obviously Iruka comes. They get the message from Jiraiya. Now, it will, I think, only be Naruto to go and train in Sage mode. I think Gaara is, I think it says, you need to stay here and keep an eye on everything in the homestead, man. Just it's fine. This is something I gotta do. And to be fair, Gaara does know that Naruto was kind of closer to Jiraiya than Jiraiya was to Gaara. Mind you, they both lamented on the fact that he wasn't always the best teacher, but still, he was a good man. And so he goes, trains, Sage mode. He'll get all that down. Absolutely, he's got that. But then Pain comes to attack the village. Now, initially, a lot of these interactions, the Preta path interaction, the human path, the Naraka path, Those are all the same. It's not until you get to Kakashi versus Kakashi, was it Choji? Not Choji. What's his name? Choja? That's his dad's name. You're squaring off with the David path. But first, it goes about the same. Kakashi's on death's door. He's about to kill him when, he's about to kill him with a nail. Kakashi's almost like he's got. If he uses that Kamui one more time, he's dead. And he did die. He just got brought back. But just then, like the Azura Path tries to come in with the missile when Sand comes and just slices it and says, and then just obliterates the Azura Path and just crush. And it's like, I see. So you're finally here, and One Tails. So my name is Gaara of the desert. I'm the Shikaku is. I am the Jinchuriki. I am a ninja of the leaf, and yes, I am the Jinchuriki of the Shikaku. But I will not let you take hurt my home or take this tail beast. Take my friend without a fight. And Shikaku was legitimately like, friend. I mean, look, we've got him along a lot better these couple of years, but friend. And he's kind of then he realizes, like, all right, fine, friend. And so it's like, you don't seem to understand. You don't have a say in the matter. And he just pulls Gaara towards like, but Gaara's bracing himself, like holding himself with his hand. And his sand. He's keeping himself anchored that way. Busho Tenin. And he's like, no. Shinra Tensei. And like all the sand and everything blows back. Gaara's like, all right, I'm going to have to really not fuck around with this. He goes into Jinchuriki mode where it's like the hybrid state he has. He's got like the ears. He's even got a tail. He's got like his gauntlets, his arms are a lot thinner now. It looks more like armor now than anything else. I see. So you really think you can take me on, Gaara of the desert or Gaara of the leaf? It's like we're about to find out. And admittedly, with an amp like that, Gaara should move at a lot faster speeds, similar to like Naruto does. But Naruto does have the strongest tail beast. But we have seen those amps also with like Killer Bee and stuff. So it might just not be the the same amp, but no, Gaara still just rushes and it's like Shinra Ten, and he's dodging a little bit, but Shinra Tensei blasts Gaara back. Sand comes in, and now Nagato Pain does have to avoid it. Devapath has to avoid it while he's waiting for his cooldown time to finish. And Shinra Tensei, boom, and more comes. Like there's just so much of it, and Gaara's literally like pouring sand up from underneath. That eventually his legs do get caught and crushed. He then Shinra Tensei's again, and it's like enough of this. And then finally just, floats into the air, meets the Hokage. Where is the Nine Tails? I have one Jinchuriki here. Where is Naruto Uzumaki? It's like, you're never going to get him. And he turns into the full Shikaku. It's like, ready to do this? Ready and wait! Been ready all my life for this. Get ready to die! Let's do this! And like, I see. So that is your game. Then the only thing you still don't understand it, do you? And now I don't know what he's talking about. I'm gonna kill him. No, you won't. You still don't understand. And just his eyes just go pain. Shinra Tensei. Tail Beast Spawn fires. Boom! The mass Shinra Tensei happens. They clash, which is now a good question to ask. We know you can resist the Shinra Tensei. Like just brace yourself against it. Naruto has shown this. In just his six tails form, and just using a bunch of clones to brace himself. The momentum of the Tail Beast Bomb is still insanely powerful, and that's a dense sphere chakra, even for the One Tails. So, does that bypass the Shinra Tensei? Oh. I will say yes, but it gets slowed down enough that Pain is able to avoid being completely obliterated. However, he does get like an arm taken off. I think that's a fair compensation because that is the level of power. He literally leveled the city with it. And every Shinra Tensei I'm talking about is not the city leveling Shinra Tensei. So yeah, I will say that it probably is enough to at minimum slow it down, maybe stop it. If it were the Nine Tails, it probably wouldn't stop it. But or even like some like the upper half of the Tail Beast power level scale wise. But with it, I think it's enough to slow it down. But he gets like a leg, or like his legs are already crushed, and his arm is just it's like and I won't be able to use Shinra Tensei for a little while after that. Meanwhile, Gaara and like the Shikaku are both like damn it all. It's like what? That's like, why am I saying? All of a sudden they see the Predapaths on and just eating chakras. Like, you get off! And Gaara's there. It seems the Shikaku is stronger than we thought, but it's of no matter. And obviously, Azura Path's been, spit back out. Now would be the Devil's Path turn, except Naruto shows up. And there's like, so there's the Nine Tails. And obviously, Tsunade tries to step in. Naruto destroys the Azura Path the second time around, this time for good. And Gaara, you did more than enough, pal. Like, no, Naruto, I can still, no. Let me take care of the rest of this. As, it's like, I need to recover. Distracted. And Naruto is literally like throws the Rasen Shuriken, obliterates the human path, takes out the animal path. A lot of this goes the same to the point where I don't know. And Naruto even probably sees the Devil Path go in and get restored. Now, would that recharge his Shinra Tensei's? That's a good question. I'm gonna say no, because that wasn't because it's Nagato's overall power spread amongst bodies. That pain not being able to use his abilities had nothing, I think, to do with that body. It had to do with Nagato being taxed from doing an attack that large. Similar to why the Chibaka Tensu made Nagato's nose bleed, not the Yaiko body. So, no, even if he comes back out all fresh and good to go, Naruto still obliterates the Naraka path. Obviously the Shinra Tensei comes back. He does catch Naruto and does try to put the chakra rods in him, but just as he's about to do that, Gaara does the same because Shikaku, you really are, and all of a sudden the curse seals start to come up on him, and it's like, you really Shinra Tensei, and all of a sudden he's now getting chakra rods in him. It's like, I should probably target the weakest one first, Gaara, and then Naruto just calms down enough to get back into Sage mode. And then they're going toe to toe again. And Naruto's like, creates the Rasen Shuriken, Shinra Tensei. And then he throws the Rasen Shuriken and they clash. It dissipates. He makes the other Rasen Shuriken. He has to get out of the way. Meanwhile, he comes in and then just cracks this guy in the face. Just boom, boom, boom. But again, it's just not enough. And he also gets kind of laid out. Hinata comes, says, Naruto, I'm not afraid because I love you. And then it's never said whether or not she was actually killed. It's implied she might have been, but we know Sakura did use medical ninjutsu to stabilize her, so she wasn't dead. She was just very badly injured. And this causes Naruto to, just go rage mode. The Kyuubi attacks. And after that, everything goes pretty much the same. Now I think Gaara, again, probably takes like a chakra pull or something like that, is able to get out. Sakura maybe gets the rods out of him. I gotta go help Naruto. It's like, you don't barely have enough. Shikage, you can give me some chakra. Look, I'm almost tapped out myself, kid. I'll give you as much as I can. Thank you. And then the gold chakra comes up again, and he rushes to Naruto to help him out. And he's like, you should give up on me giving up. Blasts away pain, and Gaara's like, you did it. And it's not over yet. And so they both go. By the way, you'll notice I didn't have Gaara use Rasengan here. Mostly because it really wouldn't have made sense because he's astute enough to study his opponent and realize he's manipulating gravity somehow. I can't get past that. So Rasengan's out of the question, at least in this case. They both go, and he fires a chakra rod into Naruto, because it's the Nine Tails and he's the bigger threat. And doesn't go well. He pops it out, and they both have a conversation with Nagato. He was our master. And this is the well I've inherited my master, Jiraiya, all that. And so Nagato releases the souls, Shin Rebirth, and he passes away. So the day is saved. Gaara, Naruto particularly is a hero, but Gaara also, just straight out kisses him straight on the lips, just like, oh, you, and say, my hero. He's like, you guys are so friends. Like, and Gaara's kind of blushing, like, well, we try. And Sakura says, thank you. But trouble is a brewing. First off, Danzo is not coming back to the village here. We got the Kage Summit. We're only at 30 minutes, so let's just talk about the Kage Summit, because I think the war is going to be the final part we do on Wednesday. And we'll just have a long part dedicated to the war itself. So after the fact, what happens here? First off, does A even call a Kage summit? Because B wasn't captured. I think because of Akatsuki, he does still call it because they need to deal with it. Now, who is put in place to be temporary Kage? Well, it probably would be Kakashi. They suggested it prior before Danzo stepped in and made his opinion known. And honestly, he became the sixth Hokage anyway, so it wouldn't add up that Kakashi goes. And he probably has Guy with him. I don't see Naruto going, personally. I don't know who the second member would frankly be. I guess he could take Naruto with him, just as a vote of confidence. I got the Nine Tails with me, so here you go. The guy who beat the leader of the Akatsuki, allegedly. But anyway, they would go. They would have their meeting. Now, the meeting... that's a good question. How would this meeting go down? Because there's no manipulation of Mifune here. And if it wasn't for the fact that Aoi... Is it pronounced Aoi? I believe it's pronounced Aoi, right? Aoi? If it wasn't for him seeing that Genjutsu, Danzo would have been made the head of the ninja forces, the ninja army for the Great Shinobi War. But Mifune even said, with logical reason and deduction, I would have probably selected you anyway. I must ensure what I must, and I must increase my bust. What? I must be perky. What, Danzo? I'm senile. Which would be hilarious. A senile just pooping his pants, Danzo. Just, pudding! I want Sharingan pudding! I don't know what I'm doing right now. But Obito would still come in. He would declare war on the five great nations. And there you go. Now, does Kakashi get made the head of the alliance here? Ooh, that's a good question. Because A did bring up a good point that the Akatsuki is members of... every member of Akatsuki is from their villages. As far as we know, there has not been a member of the Akatsuki that was from the Cloud. Although, if given the chance, the Gold and Silver brothers probably could have been a member of the Akatsuki, given the right circumstances. But they weren't. So, that is definitely a good point they make. But Kakashi probably is able to stare down the Raikage a little bit and say that may be true. But among all the villages, none of us have clean records. You yourself, Lord Raikage, should know of that, wouldn't you? How many years has it been since that alleged attempt? But maybe he doesn't. How many years has it been since? Oh, I can't remember. There was an incident a while back, if I recall, to which the Raikage doesn't want to respond to that because not everyone probably knows that happened. In fact, the mist, the stone, and the sand almost certainly don't know that. Maybe they know that a lightning ninja was killed, but they don't know that he attempted to steal the Hyuga clan heiress. And even if he denies that, that's bringing something up that he's not certain they know about. So Kakashi and again, I still don't believe it's 100% known if he had actually ordered that or not. Or if that guy was just acting on his own volition. Well, you'll have to let me know. If that was that guy who was just acting on his own free accord, or if it was in fact A who had ordered it. Either way, it's a jab that Kakashi rightfully can make, and A can't respond because if he opens his mouth and say, I had nothing to do with that, then it's like, they'll be like, do with what, Lord Raikage? And you're like, not your business. It's like, I was accused of this. It's like, well, we found him, and he was trying to steal the Hyuga clan heiress. So he rightfully so has to be quiet on that. And so Mifune does notice that. And he also notices that the Raikage does have a temper. Now, he did say that with his brother safe, he's sure the Raikage would probably be a lot more level-headed. But if we're going to be honest, when we look at that war, and look at him leading, what did the Raikage actually do? He didn't really give much in the way of orders. There were divisions, sure, but he tried to kill Naruto because he didn't want and from a strategic standpoint, I understand what he was trying to do. Like, okay, if I kill him, the Nine Tails will take a while to reform. Yeah, but now the Nine Tails is loose. And they can just go, and they know they have an Uchiha by the name of Madara who can subjugate the Nine Tails. So what was your logic behind that again? I know what the logic is. His logic is, if Naruto gets captured, well, that's the game. That's the game. We're done. But the problem is you kill him right then and there. The Nine Tails gets released without a Jinchuriki who can fight back and possibly resist the Genjutsu. And we know the Nine Tails can be placed under a Genjutsu from the guy who's just declared war. So, honestly, A isn't a good leader. Like, he actually isn't a good choice here. Kakashi, on the other hand, is. He's level-headed. He doesn't lose his temper, really. He is also lived through many wars, and he's a great tactician and military strategist. So, he probably is the one who gets placed in charge over Kei. Kakashi does say, though, that in the event our Hokage wakes up, I defer my position to her. It's like, very well, that's acceptable. And so, yeah, so Tsunade actually will ultimately be the leader. Real quick, before we get into the actual war, or not really get into the war, the island work, both Gaara and Sasuke and Naruto and B, the only three remaining Jinchuriki. Whereas basically, that's where they do the training. Now, Gaara, honestly, at this point, he's more or less a perfect Jinchuriki without actually being one. Naruto ultimately would still overwhelm Kurama. And unfortunately, they just don't have the seal. Or maybe they do, because Jiraiya did alter the seal to whatever degree. Maybe the seal is somehow, maybe Gaara has been given whatever key it is by this toad or scroll toad. And like, okay, if you trust him, whether I have or not, I owe him this much. And he just, and then finally, you're insane, kid. How do you know I'm not going to just take over your body or kill you? Well, maybe you will, but I'd like to think I told you. I think of you as my friend, and I like to think you won't try something like that. And in Shikaku just his essence kind of like pours out of Gaara for a second before it's like, damn it, you called my bluff. Not staying in here forever though. When this war is over, I'm getting out of here. And it's like, and Gaara kind of like, that's all right, all right, but just be sure but maybe we can hang out sometimes. Yeah, okay, whatever. So yes, all three of them now are perfect Jinchurikis. But danger looms, as we know that as Kabuto was able to find Obito. This is another reason why Orochimaru or Kabuto will probably be able to find Itachi and Sasuke pretty quick. So they probably knew where the Akatsuki were almost the entire time. And so, yes, Madara, isn't it? At least that's what you're calling yourself these days, right? What do you want, Orochimaru? What I want is to offer my aid to you in this war. Now, why would he do it if he has Sasuke? Does he actually need to offer his aid? Actually, I might actually change this now that I'm thinking about it. He probably doesn't. In fact, he can probably just sit this out completely and be like the final boss. When the war is over, in fact, I actually now really know where this final fight is what this final story arc bit is gonna be, because without Edo Tensei's on his side, this war is not gonna go in Obito's favor. So then there's really no reason that Orochimaru would offer his services in this version. There are other for example, when Sasuke is still working with Obito, that is a good reason for him to work with Obito so he can get Sasuke. Like an agreement is like, I want Sasuke when this is over. Very well then. Like that makes sense. But he has Sasuke here. So what's gonna happen here? Well, we'll save the war for the last part on Wednesday. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.